Hey everybody, Aaron Zamzow, Fire Rescue Fitness Podcast. Today we're going to talk about first responders, why they are our heroes. This is a great listen for anybody that loves them, is one of them, and wants to be one of them. Stay tuned.
It's time to get fit for duty with the FRF Podcast. Here's your host, Aaron Zamzow.
Hey everybody, Aaron Zamzow here. Thanks for listening or watching. If you're watching this on video, I'll try to be a little more entertaining and use more hand gestures here. I'm trying to do a video podcast. Apparently, I am qualified to do that on Spotify and some other platforms, thanks to my 4 listeners, which are my mom and my family members. Just kidding, of course. I can't thank everybody enough for listening. I actually get quite a few people commenting or emailing in with some stuff that they heard from the podcast, and I never knew that this avenue would be so effective. So I'm very appreciative. These are really therapeutic for me, which brings us into the topic of really and how this particular podcast came to be. For me, I'm learning more and more that this is my therapy. This is the way that I can deal with the stresses of what we see and what I've seen. And I think, hopefully this is great for you too. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today is maybe something you could share with the rest of the general population outside of maybe the first responder community, because it's something that I think most people, my family members are starting to understand a little bit more. And me personally, I'm just trying to understand and really absorb what I've been able to witness the last couple years, especially through the pandemic, and that is that first responders, even though I am one, I guess, and that's a whole nother conversation is how I view myself personally, but I've witnessed some unbelievable displays of compassion, unbelievable displays of empathy, fortitude, you name it, over these last couple of years, and it's irritating because these are the things that aren't shared on social media. These are the things that people don't talk about, and what's really irritating the crap out of me is that, I worked a Saturday night shift. I actually worked a 48, I believe. It was a Friday, Saturday, and then, there's this award show where someone slaps someone else, and that's all anybody else could talk about. In the meantime, there's a war going on, and there's acts like what I witnessed for the previous 48 hours. And one of the things that I found just really compelling, and I'm very fortunate to work with people like this, and I think, if you're a first responder, I hope that as I ramble on here, that you can get a positive outlook or get a more positive outlook and try to search for those positive things, because they're right in front of us a lot and we don't recognize them. And that's kind of the purpose of this particular podcast, is that you are heroes, and you're heroes to me. And I think you're heroes to a lot of other people. It's just, you're not celebrated, or we're not celebrated. And damn it, we should be. And that's why I'm doing this podcast, because I kind of got, as my mom would say, I got my undies in a bundle here. Because all everybody talks about now, right at the moment that I'm recording this, is the stupid award show, how one celebrity slapped another celebrity, and I'm sure you know who it is. But you also hear, like, I'm up in Wisconsin, and you heard about, this Aaron Rodgers drama, will he play, will he not play, and all this other crap. And meanwhile, we're out there as first responders. Granted, we're getting paid for this, but we're not getting paid half as much as they are. Actually, we're not even getting paid 188,000th of what some of them are getting paid. And what I've witnessed, again, these last couple of years, just needs to be somehow amplified. And if this is a way that to get people to do it, great. And I'll give you an example. We had some medics that worked my previous shift, and they had 16 calls. They were running all over the place. They were running to hospitals. We ran codes. Codes meaning are people that are pulseless and non-breather, and you work them with compressions. There were car accidents in this, and then we got a call at 3:30 in the morning. These medics have been running all day, and granted, I was on the engine that day, and we were running too, but not like them. They were just getting handled, and the call was for a woman in her mid-80s. She was frail. She had cancer. She had a lot of different issues going on, and she was sick, and she had diarrhea all over the place. Second floor of this home, and you walked upstairs, and you could smell it, and you could see it, and my crew, God bless them, took the time to clean up this individual, clean up a little bit of the bathroom the best we could in the area. We wrapped this particular person up to try to make them as comfortable as we could. They were in pain, obviously, and they were very, very ill. And this is after 16 calls, and the calls ran from very serious to not very serious. I believe that day we had someone call us for a stomach ache. And granted, stomach aches can be an emergency, but this was not. This was just someone who was experiencing some pain and just wanted to ride. And that happens, and I understand that's part of the job. And hopefully you, as a first responder, listen to this going, yep, been there. But the empathy and the compassion that I saw at 3:30 in the morning for a crew of people that were very tired needs to be celebrated. So one of the reasons I started this podcast is so I could go on rants. And I hope that as you are listening to this, if you're one of those people or ever have been one of those people, I say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I guess I am too. I was there. I get it. But that kind of thing needs to be celebrated. And I think in our profession and field as first responders, it's not. And it's frustrating then when you look at the news and you see these freaking clowns, and that's all you hear and you talk about. Maybe what we do isn't too sexy. Obviously, that is not part of sexy when you talk about diarrhea. But it's what happens every single day. Nurses, doctors. I've watched police officers be empathetic and listen and try to reason with people that are swearing at them, calling them names, and in some cases even spitting at them. And they still have patience. We still have compassion. Now, granted, we all have our limits, and there's some days that we are a little bit short on that. But for the most part, I've just seen it. I just want everybody else to know how great a lot of these first responders are, including the people that I work with. So if you have a family member, you're listening to this, that's part of this job, which I don't think is, again, celebrated and talked about enough. Another call that we had was a pulseless non-breather early morning where paramedics and my crew that I was on, we exhausted everything, 40 minutes of CPR to try to help resuscitate this family member. And so you are in their house, you're trying to deal the best you can, and obviously family members are around there. And I watched some medics and a lieutenant deliver what we don't want to ever deliver or tell anybody about, loved one is deceased. And to be able to do that in any manner, and still show the compassion that they did and the empathy that they did. Again, the nurse police officers there. And just to watch that and be a part of that, I feel very honored and privileged. And maybe that's, again, for me, that's why I do these, so I can actually talk about these things and get them off my chest so they don't bother me as much. And hopefully that's why you listen, so you can understand that you are not alone, you are appreciated, and that you need to, sometimes we as first responders need to step back and really take in the positive things. Now, in the case of someone who just lost their life, right? This is a very negative kind of situation. There is anxiety there. There is a lot of emotion. And, trying to take some positives away from that, and I don't want to take away from, that's a loss of life. But on the other hand, it's also a crew coming together, doing what they can and exhausting themselves, and then showing compassion after the fact, and staying there and trying to support being just human. And sometimes those things are lost. We lose them as first responders sometimes because we go from call to call to call to call. We go from situation to situation. And again, the purpose of this is to be twofold. One, take pride in the fact that you are giving your efforts for the betterment of society and for someone else. And two, sometimes you got to dig a little deeper to find positives. here's why it's very important to find those positives. Sometimes it's great to step back and, every shift, every call, whatever you need to do, but try to find something that you can build on, find something that gives you a little bit of hope, and they're all around you. They really are. I've been very fortunate lately, and I don't know if it's because of my age or I had an injury, kind of helped put things in perspective. It could be the people around me. I don't know. I've been in the industry now, the fire service, for 20 years. I've been in fitness for over 30, and maybe those experiences have helped me. I just went through a lieutenant's process, so now I'm kind of trying to change my hat a little bit, and that might be a part of it. But personally, I've been able to step back a little bit. I'm not saying I'm not doing my job. I'm still doing my job, but when I go back in the truck, instead of hitting my cell phone and looking at the clown boxes on Facebook or searching for something, I don't grab my phone. I take a moment to just take a couple deep breaths and really absorb what just happened, and it's been very, very positive for me. So I encourage you to do that. If you find yourself going through this negative kind of tunnel with social media or with just your environment, take a step back, take a couple deep breaths. I like to give it the 3-minute rule. Don't touch your phone. Don't try to interact with anybody for 3 minutes if you're in a bad state. And in that case, try to find something positive. Try to find something that you get enjoyment from, as long as it's obviously a positive thing. And then maybe go back to what you're doing. That's easier said than done sometimes when we're on calls, but there usually is that time frame after a call where you're kind of by yourself or it's quiet. Use that time, take a couple deep breaths, decompress a little bit, and then end it with some positive feelings and thoughts. Every situation, I think there can be some positive. You really got to dig in some situations, I know. And it may take time in other situations. But that's one way I believe that you can cope. That's another way to keep yourself, I shouldn't say crisp, but that's one way to keep your empathy up and to really help with career longevity. So I hope this makes sense. I hope this impacts some of you. If you're a family member of a first responder, if you're a supporter of a first responder, just if you would for a second, really take a moment to thank those that do that. Have a little bit more empathy for them and understanding that we may not want to talk about it because it's not really easy to talk about sometimes, but these are the environments we work in. We do compressions a lot on people. We do care for people that need to be cared for and haven't been. They're not only sick, but mental health issues. We deal with them a lot. We deal with car accidents. When people are dumb, we're usually called in. And it does take its toll on us. And the first part of that is that we as first responders need to recognize that, change our environment, our mental environment around by being positive. And those that are around us need to also help us with that, help us understand and understand personally what we go through. And I think together, then let's accentuate that and stop sharing these morons that I like to call, that are celebrities or whatever, and celebrate those people that are really making a positive impact like you are. You are my heroes. Continue being my heroes. I know you will be. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for then, I'm already going to thank you for taking this podcast message and being more positive, because ultimately it's going to help everybody, including yourself, and it's something that I've been doing. So stay positive, stay healthy, stay empathetic, stay compassionate, and just keep taking care of yourself and those around you. Thanks again for listening. Let me know what I can do to help you and your crew get more and stay more fit for duty.